This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
What's up, Detroit sports fans? Welcome to the Fan Report, a show made by fans for fans, powered by the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. I'm Nick, and with me is Andrew's going to give us this week's topics.
Well, this past weekend was NBA All-Star Weekend, and certainly had a lot of lows, but there were some highs, a lot of them involving some Pistons representation. We also have a new Lions mock draft from The Athletic. We'll try to cover it. It's a Fan Report.
So, obviously, if any of you guys, I'll be honest, I am not the biggest fan of All-Star Weekends. I think for the most part, they're a terrible product. I don't think this weekend was any different. I think it was a terrible product across the board. I will say there were some exciting parts to it. Unless you watch the dunk contest, then it was the worst thing you've ever seen. That was terrible. I don't even think three-point contest was all that great either.
Yeah, All-Star Saturday night as a whole was pretty garbage.
The only thing that was honestly pretty exciting to watch, and that was primarily because it had local ties, was the Rising Stars Challenge, where we got to see Cade and Sadiq Bey show that, well, in terms of the young talents in this league, they're at the top.
Well, I will give them some credit in the fact that I do think the format they had this year was actually really fun, a lot more fun than what they were doing in previous years, like the kind of tournament format they set up.
See, my most memorable Rising Stars Challenge goes back to the rookies versus sophomores games, and especially the one that had Tayshaun Prince as a sophomore going up against the LeBron, D-Wade, Chris Bosh rookie team, and that sophomore team just pooped all over them. Those games, to me, were still really good. They were at least entertaining and exciting. You got to watch a lot of the young talent go at it. I'm not saying I dislike what they did this year. I think it was an interesting wrinkle, and it's better than it's been in previous years. I'm still not a huge fan of just playing to a number, I guess. I don't know. It just
that's the part that I've been liking, especially with the All-Star game itself. I thought since they've employed that, it's been a lot more competitive. Obviously,
I don't think it's competitive at all. I think it's really gimmicky. Stretches
where just them throwing alley-oops and just chucking up wide open threes and stuff. But then as soon as you start getting close to that score, then they just keep buckling down over and over again. In the fourth quarter, it's just competitive the whole time. And that's about the most you can really expect from an All-Star game. I'm on the
side that I don't really think it's all that competitive. I think it's more of a gimmick than anything that we do it this way. It just seems like a joke for most of the night, and every now and then they show up a little bit, but for the most part, it's a gimmick. And I know All-Star games, by definition, are more of a gimmick than anything, to be honest. But to be frank, but still, I don't think you're ever going to see All-Star games being a good product anymore. I don't. With the way that athletes are and how careful they are with their bodies and the attention that's paid to, okay, you need this amount of rest or this amount of activity, the attention that's paid to that type of stuff just negates the possibility for an All-Star game to be a great contest any longer. And that's true for all sports.
That's why you need a gimmick like the Elam ending to kind of at least make it semi-competitive for stretches.
I don't even think it's semi-competitive. I don't. I think it's still straight up a non-compete situation. I think it's just, hey, we have an end that isn't just by the clock. Mm-hmm. Yes, during the All-Star game, there was a lot of fun with Steph Curry jacking up threes and nailing just about every single one of them. That had a lot of entertainment value to it.
He was one away from setting the record.
You got to watch
set the record for most points scored in the All-Star game.
You got to watch the greatest shooter in the history of the game do what he does. And if you're a fan of Steph Curry, you've really been starving for that this year because he's not been himself. So there were some highlights to the All-Star game, but the All-Star weekend as a whole primarily was a dud. The dunk contest was terrible.
That was straight garbage.
It was so bad. And I
was telling you while we were watching, I'm like, this is the worst I've seen. I thought it couldn't get worse than that year. I think it was 2014, I want to say, where they kind of were experimenting, and it was a free-for-all, freestyle dunk contest for 2 minutes straight, where everyone was just throwing up random dunks. I thought it couldn't get worse than that, but this one topped it.
And I get it. Like, the names in the dunk contest aren't big. Like, gone are the days of seeing Michael Jordan, Dominique Wilkins, Kobe Bryant, and Vince Carter doing dunk contests. We don't get those names anymore because primarily you're seeing rookies and sophomores do the dunk contest. And even a little bit back then, that's what you saw. Kobe did it when I'm pretty sure he was 19.
Yeah.
So, but at least they were big names at the time. Yes, Jalen Green.
I mean, Jalen Green was number two overall pick.
But he's been so bad this year that he's fallen off a cliff in terms of who gives a shit about him.
Yeah,
like, nobody
that's true.
cares about. Nobody talks about Jalen Green anymore. Nobody. So, like, I'll be straight with you. People probably talk about Obi Toppin as much as they talk about Jalen Green anymore because Jalen Green has been that bad. So he's just a non-factor.
And Obi was the only one who even put in like an acceptable performance, but it was drowned out by the substitute around him.
Even his wasn't very good. Like, it was pretty ho-hum.
Like in the grand scheme of dunk contests, it was very ho-hum.
He probably wouldn't have made it out of the first round in most years' dunk contests. That's how bad it was, and he won this year. Did we see a single 50?
No.
I didn't think so, and I'm just remembering the dunk contest between Aaron Gordon and Zach LaVine where they had to go into extra dunks because they couldn't stop getting 50s.
Yeah,
like it was that incredible, and every single dunk they did had us basically falling on the floor, going, "Oh my god!"
Yeah,
there was never one of those moments in this dunk contest, not one.
Mm-hmm. There was a lot of moments where I wanted to turn it off. I'll tell you that much.
Yes, absolutely.
Did you see that clip that came out after the fact of Kareem getting up and leaving like mid Jalen Green dunk?
Oh
like,
my god!
Did you had enough?
Did you see Shaq's face when they zoomed in on him? And my favorite is the meme of Shaq's reaction to old dunk contests versus the new ones, and you could see Shaq on his phone with the biggest smile on his face for the old ones, and then this one it's just flat face.
It was Shaq with a full-on camcorder in the Vince Carter dunk contest. Yeah,
like those were the days of good dunk contests, and I mean we even got to see some a little bit of not that long ago with Aaron Gordon and Zach LaVine, but I don't know, man. This iteration of it was just terrible. But you know what wasn't terrible? Cade Cunningham and Sadiq Bey's performance in the Rising Stars Challenge. I know we touched on it a little bit, but
it rarely is the best part, but it was the best part of All-Star Weekend, if you ask me. Like,
at least for Pistons fans, it probably should have been because
it was also the most competitive of All-Star Weekend.
Also
like
true.
These guys were actually trying hard.
And you got to watch, like, looking at the rosters. I definitely did not think. I think it was Cade's team had a chance. I think it was Sadiq's team that looked like the heavy favorite in my mind.
Cade's team was a long shot.
Yeah, and honestly, watching the two Pistons young guys go out there and perform, like those dudes are head and shoulders above most of the rest of the young talent in this league. Yes, Evan Mobley was great. There were, like, I believe Josh Giddey had a really good game in there, but those guys are proving that they're men amongst boys when it comes to the young talent in this league. And I really think this is going to go a long way for those two guys, and especially Cade, to gain some recognition around this league. Because I'll be straight with you, I think they've been largely ignored. From the media, from other fan bases, they've been largely ignored. And now that they've gotten
comes with the territory when you play for Detroit.
But now that they've gotten to showcase it on a national stage, and a big stage at that, they showed what they can do. They showed the chops, and they stepped up and they proved that they are the best guys out there right now. It was good to see.
Yeah, and like it's funny because I do believe the Sadiq Bey Isaiah Stewart team Isaiah, I believe they were the favorites going in. I don't know who actually bets on these things, but they were the favorites going in.
I was going to say, did you bet on the All-Star weekend? Because I did not.
I did. I used to like to, well, not like bet because it wasn't available to bet before, but actually there was 1 year where it was available to bet Michigan before they put in the Elam ending. But this year and the last year when they had the Elam ending, because all I used to like to bet was the over/under point totals on the All-Star game itself, and usually that means over.
Well, yeah, when they
used to be
a million points.
It used to be a pretty easy hit, but then the Elam ending kind of caps it.
I was going to say the Elam ending makes it kind of sketchy.
Yeah, so
like what they should do is do an over/under for the first 3 quarters. That's what they should do, and then then they should do a fourth quarter money line, basically, something separate.
Yeah,
but I'm not the bookmaker, so
I'm also not betting on the All-Star game. But so it was interesting that Sadiq's team I think was the favorite and Cade's was a long shot. And it's funny though because so they played each other in the finals, which alone made me pretty happy to watch. But it was funny that it was pretty evident that during the game, if Sadiq's team came out on top, which for a while it looked like they were going to, Sadiq was going to be the MVP. He had a huge first game. He had a pretty good second game.
I was going to say, and I'm pretty sure led all players in scoring throughout the tournament, didn't he?
That I'm not sure.
I'm pretty sure he did.
No. But then if Cade's team won, it was pretty clear Cade was going to be MVP. Only competition there would have been Mobley. But so like the Pistons players themselves really showed out in that game. They got no coverage from the broadcast, but they really showed out.
Well, that's just because Adam Lefkoe was just slobbering all over LaMelo Ball the whole time. Guy makes an outlet pass. Oh my God! Did you see that pass? I can't stand. I can't stand broadcasters like that.
LaMelo Ball taking a free throw. Well, he probably just has to make this one, right? You never know. It's LaMelo Ball. Like it's a free throw, dude. Relax.
Guy dribbles up the floor. Did you see those moves? I can't with guys like that. Mm-hmm. Do you know how stupid you sound? Plus, he couldn't even get half the players' names right.
Yeah, he called Şengün Franz Wagner multiple times, not just once, multiple times. Grant Hill corrected him once and then gave up after that. He called Franz Wagner Şengün.
Was he drunk in the broadcast? Does anybody have some intel on this? Was he drunk on the broadcast?
If it's at some points it seemed like it. Here's one that'll slight you Pistons fans. He did call Isaiah Stewart Precious Chua.
That's just terrible. You have one job as a broadcaster, and that's to get the damn names right. That is job number one.
He called Michael Bridges Malik.
Yikes.
Anywho.
What is Lefkoe's day job? What does he normally do? Is he actually a basketball broadcaster? Because I've heard his name several times, but I can't recall any games I've watched that have...
If I'm not mistaken, he used to be with ESPN. I feel like I remember him being on the ESPN desk, or Sports Center or whatever, but I don't know what he does, what he's been doing since then.
He is a sports anchor.
Oh, he's Bleacher Report. Of course.
Well, go figure. Go figure. God. If you've been a longtime fan of this show, you know my disdain for Bleacher Report. Andrew knows it all too well.
I know it all too well.
God, that makes so much sense now.
I still remember trying to on the live show trying to pitch topics based on a Bleacher Report article. Oh, it's from a Bleacher Report article. Throw that out. We're not doing it.
Oh man!
But I do want to talk about Cade for a minute, a little bit outside of the scope of All-Star Weekend.
Yeah.
Because there's one thing that I've noticed from Cade. We already knew that early on in Cade's rookie season, he was having trouble getting into foul trouble, staying out of foul trouble. I don't know if you've noticed, but I did notice in the few games leading up to All-Star Weekend, he's gotten into some very early, heavy foul trouble. I'm talking 4 fouls in the first half of the second quarter. He's already has 4 fouls. Now, both times he did a great job of in the second half, cleaning it up and managing to stay in the game. Yep. But it kind of hurts your team a lot when you can't be as aggressive as you would normally be. Now, I don't know if I couldn't really see anything that Cade was doing differently than he's been doing all year. So I don't know if it was just some picky officiating for a few games, but it's something that I'm really hoping he is able to clean up in the final stretch of the season here.
And I think he will clean. I'm not necessarily saying he's going to clean it up this year, but as he gains some footing in this league and gains some experience, I think that's something that he'll cut down on, because you just become a smarter defender as you gain experience in this league. Learning how to defend some of the better guards in this league comes along with the foul numbers dropping, because you're able to read tendencies. You know how to move your feet against this guy and this guy, and and stay in front of them, as opposed to having to try to catch up and reach and getting yourself into foul trouble that way, and knowing who and what spots you're able to be aggressive in. So I think as he gains more experience in this league, because I think what it is he's trying to make a play. And it's causing him to be a little overly aggressive and make mistakes and get himself into foul trouble as a result. So I think as he gets a little bit more comfortable in this league, he's going to know how to pick his spots on when and when not to be aggressive in order to keep those foul numbers down. So I think that just comes with the territory of gaining experience as a player in this league. And I think we'll start to see that more and more as the year goes on and into next year.
I 100% agree with you, but I do find it funny that like this whole time we've been clamoring for Cade to like draw more contact and get to the free throw line more, and it's basically been the opposite. He's still not drawing contact, but he's contacting people.
I was going to say he's giving more contact. I don't know if there was like a lost in translation moment, but Cade, we want you to get more contact, not give.
I mean, like to put it in perspective, in Cade's last four. I'm not mistaken, in Cade's last 4 starts, he only went to the line twice.
Really?
So,
that low?
Yeah, low.
Well, I'd hope to see him, jump that a little bit.
Yeah. The other guy I want to talk about, Saddiq Bey. We were a little bit worried about what he was going to do once Jeremy Grant came back. And, I mean, we were both saying that we have trouble seeing both Bey and Grant coexisting.
Right.
However, if one's to win out, it's probably going to be Grant just because of how ball dominant Grant is when he's in the game. Hasn't exactly turned out that way. Bey strung together 3 straight fantastic performances going into the All-Star break.
100%.
25, 24, and 20 on an average of nearly 50% shooting for all 3 games. Now, my question to you here is, though, what does this mean for Grant's value? Because you're not going to dial back Saddiq. You don't want to hurt his development. But by allowing him to blossom like this, you are going to kind of diminish Grant's performance the rest of the season if the trend continues the way it's been going. Does this at all worry you about Grant's trade value, or to hell with his trade value? I just want to see Saddiq blossom.
I do think it does hurt Grant's trade value because it proves that he's not a number 2 guy on a team. He's at best a decent number 3 guy on a winning team, and more likely a really good number 4. And this just kind of proves that, because Saddiq Bey says, as when Grant came back, we, like you said, we were worried about that situation, how that would be handled. Well, Saddiq has kind of said, oh no, this is my game. Like, I am the number 2 guy on this team now. You take a step back. I've cemented my role here, and I'm going to continue playing it. And frankly, Saddiq earned that spot. Jeremy Grant's not done anything this year to earn that spot. Sure, last year you can say he did, but this year he absolutely is not. And Saddiq Bey has earned that spot this year. So I absolutely think and believe that should stay the same way as we get towards the end of the season and jump back into things here with the final, 30 games, I think. That shouldn't change. Saddiq Bey should be the guy that fills in that number 2. And as we grab another big name in the draft, Saddiq probably moves to 3 in the pecking order. But Grant hasn't done anything to supplant Bey from that spot. And frankly, I do think that does hurt his value a little bit. But you know what? I'm okay with that. I think, first off, the Pistons were a little bit overselling on Jeremy Grant. Like, I don't think he was worth a first-round pick and a young asset. It's probably one or the other. And I still think you can get that with Jeremy Grant, even in a lesser role than what he was playing last year. And I'm okay with that, to be honest with you, because he isn't a part of the future, and the way Saddiq Bey has been playing and the way Jeremy Grant's been playing kind of proves that. So, yeah, I think it hurts the value of Jeremy Grant in a trade, but I'd rather have this than the other.
Yeah, very true. And you make a good point on the fact that it does feel like the price that we put on Jeremy Grant might have been a little too high, and kind of this will just bring it back down to earth a little bit, not completely devalue him, but probably
make Troy Weaver
more willing to take what teams may have already been offering him at this deadline. Now, I mean, we should point out that we are going to get games like that impressive Boston win right for the deadline, where actually both all Jeremy Grant and Sadiq,
Grant, Sadiq all had 20. That was great. I love games like that. We haven't had many
games where you beat a team like Boston. It's going to be few and far between. So,
right.
I just don't expect that to be the norm. And just in terms of Jeremy Grant and Sadiq Bey's performances, like at the same time. One development I've loved to see out of Sadiq Bey lately, the assist numbers.
Yeah, they've jumped.
He's averaging like nearly 5 assists a game in his last 8 games. Yeah,
I think so. That is probably, in my opinion, at least, the only place that having Jeremy Grant on the floor has helped Sadiq Bey is allowing Sadiq to move the ball a little more freely, as opposed to he doesn't necessarily have to look to shoot first when the ball is in his hands. He's able to, because obviously the defense is going to be paying attention to where Cade is on the floor. Well, it's tough to pay attention to where Cade is on the floor and where Sadiq is on the floor and where Jeremy Grant is on the floor at all times. So having Grant there, who is, yes, a ball stopper, but if Cade and Bey touch the ball before Jeremy Grant does and Grant takes the shot, I'm okay with that. Where I was not okay with was Jeremy Grant getting the ball and nobody else touches it, which is what we were seeing before. Now we're seeing it with Sadiq being closer in the pecking order, where he sees if his shot's not there, he's comfortable dishing it out to Jeremy Grant to make a shot or something, to at least be a threat to score.
There was one play, speaking of Grant being a ball stopper, there was one play that I don't want to say it went viral, but it made the rounds on Twitter a bit, where Cade dishes to Jeremy Grant in the high post, runs a screen for Sadiq. Sadiq breaks free wide open, no one around him for an elbow three. And Cade is like jumping up, pointing at Sadiq, and Jeremy Grant just sees none of it and just takes like this ill-advised fadeaway shot and brings it.
Nice. Love that.
It's so funny.
Love that for us.
Like, it was just hilarious watching like Sadiq wave his hands up, Jeremy Grant jumping up and down, pointing at Sadiq. Cade Cunningham jumping up and down, pointing at Sadiq, and Jeremy Grant just oblivious to the whole thing.
That's just, I'll be honest with you, and in no way is he this player, but that just gives me nightmares of Josh Smith. Yeah, face palm, hands, face in your hands there. Yes, that just, it gives me nightmares of that. Seeing a teammate wide open and Josh Smith decides to take a contested three.
Don't even remind me.
I in my life have never seen another player where when he shoots the ball, the whole crowd screams no. And it happened every time that man shot a three. Every time. And I've witnessed it several times. I did witness it several times with Josh Smith.
Dude, I still remember the day we announced we're signing Josh Smith. The only thing I could think of was, there was two things I could think of. One, of the spacing nightmare, and then two, I'm like, well, at least we're going to get rebounds. But yeah, that was not a
Who
fun
else
time.
was on that team? Was that the Brandon Jennings years?
Yeah, so that was the year we had both Greg Monroe and Andre Drummond starting.
Right.
So we started Josh Smith at the 3, which ill-advised.
No. Yeah, no. Do not ever put that man out on the perimeter. He won't leave it. Ugh.
So one other Pistons-related thing I want to touch on. We had a leak that has been making the rounds on social media.
Okay, I like leaks.
About
of this type, not
2022, 2023 NBA alternate jerseys. And it looks like these alternates are basically focused on like throwback.
Okay, I'm down with some throwback love. And share the screen. I'm dying here.
If these are, this is not verified by any means, but it's made enough waves where I feel like it warrants talking about. If this turns out to be true, it looks like the teal is coming back.
Oh, yes.
The only part and it's for those who, but obviously it's because you guys can't see this, but for those of you who haven't seen it yet, it's basically just the teal replica of the teal jerseys with the Horsehead logo, the orange and black borders on the jersey.
Have you looked into the Twitters that they mention at the bottom of the picture at all? Just out of curiosity.
I mean, there's a lot of sources that this came from, but I haven't looked at these two specific ones.
Okay.
No. But, and this is not even where I first saw this. I just ended up finding this on here too. The only thing I don't like about this, though, is I've been all aboard the teal train in terms of bringing back the teal.
Same.
But I was hoping it was going to be like either a reimagining or modernization, or just some new spin on the classic
this
teal
does
jersey.
say classic edition jerseys, so this is pretty much straight up the
and
old
we
teal.
can see like the Nets and the Suns and the Bucks. These are all like the Wizards. It's literally just
the Wizards from the MJ era jerseys. Those are kind of cool. I'm not gonna lie.
So I mean that would be my only complaint, though. Like if we are bringing back the teals, maybe it is the next phase after this. I would just hope to see like a new spin on it. But for now, I already rock this jersey on 2K all the time. So
I love the old teal jerseys we had with the flaming horse. Like those things were sweet.
My first ever NBA jersey was a Grand Hill teal jersey.
Like I don't know why the Pistons don't, when they wear throwbacks, why they don't wear the teal jerseys. Like I know it wasn't the greatest time in Pistons history, and we have the Bad Boys era and stuff, but come on, show some love to an era that we grew up with, man.
Yeah.
I love the teal jerseys. I'd be ecstatic for them to see the Pistons wear them next year, and frankly, if we brought them back as like a Sunday alternate, that'd be awesome in my mind. I'd love that. Or if we did a reimagining, like you said, of a Sunday alternate with the teal, that'd be awesome.
Yeah. And speaking of teal jerseys, it was kind of funny because in the Rising Stars game, the jersey for
was it Cade's team?
Team Barry, Cade's team was kind of a tealish color.
He sure looked
good. And everyone's like,
Cade
looks damn good in teal, doesn't he?
What it is it's our generation that's getting a little bit older and is starting to give some callbacks to what we grew up with, and I love it.
But then it sparked the whole debate, like on Pistons Reddit. Is that technically teal? Like, guys, it's not really the point, is it? Like,
why am I not surprised?
Almost as much mental gymnastics
as
fans try to do for Juwan Howard.
Yeah. Everybody else talking about that, so we're not going to. But woof.
Woof is right. Any other Pistons related stuff before we?
No, because we have had 0 games between all of our 4 sports teams in the last 5 days, so that pretty much covers that. This has been the deadest week in Detroit sports that I can remember.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong.
Like not even the Wings have played since Saturday. I don't think it's been miserable.
Yeah,
I'm starving for a Detroit team to play. I think the next team that plays is the Wings tomorrow.
Motor City Cruise? Do they play?
The Grand Rapids Griffins played. I know that because they at least had a game.
What are your thoughts on? Because this is the first year I've done it where they've had G League players in the Rising Stars game.
I straight up thought they were a non-factor.
For the most part, I can't remember the guy's name. There was one guy that actually kind of showed out a bit, but for the most part, like the guys you were hoping, like Jalen Duran, for example, he didn't do anything.
Yeah, they just seemed like a total non-factor. I get why they're doing it. I will say I think this hurt the G League as a legitimate option for high school players more than it helped. So
it would have been huge if, some high school players could have seen some G League players out there, actually
and showing up and balling out. Yeah, absolutely. So I think this hurt their case more than it helped for sure.
Might make them second guess, maybe there is too big of a talent gap. Maybe I do need to go to college and work on my game some more.
Right. I mean, don't get me wrong. They're having to go up against NBA players and guys that have proven some success in the NBA, and they're not there and have never been there. They're supposed to be at the level of college players, but I was hoping to see at least a little bit more out of them. Just a little.
I completely agree. I would have been so happy if I would have been so happy if any G League player came out and
just balled,
competed for MVP.
Yeah, absolutely.
That would have been so cool to see.
And it would have changed the way high school high school players look at the G League entirely if that happened.
Oh, 100%. So moving on to a little bit of football here. Nick Baumgartner of The Athletic, he put out a mock draft. It's a little different than mock drafts we normally see, which is why I thought it might be interesting to discuss on the show today here. Basically what he did is he projected a player to each team, but he also projected an alternate on the other side of the ball. So it was more of, here are two interesting players rather than who is your team going to draft.
It's basically, here's an option on each side of the ball at your position. And I'm okay with it. Now, let me ask you this. If the player was mentioned ahead of them, are they still available for the Lions to take?
So, again, he has like the player that he thinks they're going to take, and then in italics, the player that would be on the other side of the ball that could be interesting as well. If the player is the player in italics, he's still technically on the board.
Okay. All right.
So, for example, the first pick, he has the Jaguars taking Ikem Ikwanwu, the tackle out of NC State.
Which has been the guy who's really jumped up into that spot.
Yep. He had them debating between Ikwanwu and Evan Neal, but going with Ikwanwu.
Evan Neal's another one who's jumped up a lot, too.
Yep. But if they don't go that way, he said on defense they could go Aiden Hutchinson. Now, he actually pegged the Lions to actually take Aiden Hutchinson.
Okay. So I've seen in a lot of draft boards, Kayvon Thibodeau falling anywhere from 4 to 6 now.
Yep.
So
that was the first thing I was going to ask you about here. I've been trying to read up on why he's falling, and none of it seems to have anything to do with actual
what it is
skill or on-field player.
It's prospect fatigue. You see it every single year. It's a guy we've talked about all year is, he's the number one. He's the number one. Well, because he's not a quarterback, we start to get sick of hearing his name, and it causes his name to fall down a little bit. I see it all the time.
Yeah. So, I personally, I still don't know if I take Aiden over Kayvon. I think I would still like Kayvon too for taking edge rusher.
At least only one of those guys has said they don't like the team, and it ain't the guy who's local.
But so on offense, though, assuming you're pegging an offensive player for the Lions, where do you go? Do you go wide receiver? Do you go quarterback?
Spot, I don't like wide receiver at 2, and there's no quarterback even close to 2.
No, okay. I'll give you a little tidbit here. He says if the Lions stick at 2, look for him to go defense. If Detroit trades back, ? And then that's where this player could come into play.
Okay, that's fair. Then you look at, insert wide receiver from Ohio State or USC here. It's
you're pretty much spot on. It was Garrett Wilson is who you pegged. I'm personally slightly leaning Chris Olave if we're taking one of the Ohio State receivers, but I certainly don't hate Garrett Wilson either, so.
Is it weird for me to want to lean the kid from USC if we get a receiver? Could you imagine the pairing of Drake London and Amon-Ra St. Brown? They played together in college. I know they don't directly. You
need some size in that receiving core. You have
dude's 6'5", 210.
Yeah,
that's big. That's a big receiver, and Amon-Ra's not a big receiver. So to add that kind of size, and it's not like he's a 6'5" that's slow. Dude still runs a 4.48. He's still pretty quick. Yeah, it's not a 4.25 that Jamison Williams runs from Alabama, but still. Honestly,
so Baumgartner has him potentially going as high as 13 to Cleveland, Drake London.
Okay. Well, like you said, it depends on where we trade back to.
Yeah.
Jamison Williams is another name I kind of like. He's 6'2", 189, and runs a 4.25. That's another guy I would like to see. Not saying anything against Garrett Wilson. The dude's a stud. I like him a lot, too. But if the Lions were to go offense, I'm not a huge fan of the quarterbacks in this draft, and we do need another receiver. That's probably the route I go as receiver. But we would definitely need to trade back to do it. And the reason I don't like the quarterbacks in this draft is because if we take one in the first round, we ain't taking one next year. And I don't like the idea of that. Because I'd be shocked if the Lions are willing to take quarterbacks in back-to-back drafts.
I think I agree with you there. But the reason I wanted to bring this up is because I kind of wanted to gauge your opinion on if we're sitting there at 2 with both edge rushers available, Aiden Hutchinson and Kayvon Thibodeau, how open are you to trading back and going offense?
Nothing's off the table in my book.
I'm not in love with either edge rusher.
It's going to depend on the price. What are you willing to give me for number 2? Like, if the deal is sweet enough, I'm going to take it. No doubt about it. Like, I'm not saying I don't want Kayvon Thibodeau or Aiden Hutchinson. I'd be ecstatic with either one of them, but everybody has a price, and mine is going to be realistic. Like, I'm not saying, oh no, we can't trade this pick. I definitely think we can, and there's a good possibility that we do. And I'm okay with that. So it wouldn't upset me if we didn't end up with Kayvon Thibodeau or Aiden Hutchinson because we traded back. Like, now, I do think the added fact that Trey Flowers could be a cut candidate on this team because of how much money he would save in the cap or on this team's budget books, but that does make a difference because then we need to add another pass rusher to take his place. But regardless, we may still be able to get a pretty solid pass rusher just a little bit later in the first round for whatever pick we get. I don't know. But
I'm all about amassing assets, and this is the type of draft that doesn't feel like it's super top heavy.
No.
So I am all about amassing collecting assets. If you have a good offer to trade back, I think there's just as good a value to be had in the later parts of the first round or even the second round. And not to mention, we also have pick number 32, which is basically the first pick in the second round.
See, if I were the Lions and I was taking both of my picks, I'd be going pass rush, wide receiver right away.
Which is what Baumgartner has us doing. He has us taking John Dodson out of Penn State.
Not going to complain about that.
Number 32.
Not complaining about that at all. And is he one of the sexier names at wide receiver? No. But he's still a really good pass catcher that can make some plays for this team, and we need that guy. So the only other positions I would consider at 32, depending on who's available there, would be quarterback. And that's with the caveat that I am taking a quarterback next year, no matter what. 2, I'd look at a safety. I'd look at a cornerback. Those 3, and I'd look at a linebacker too. So those 4 positions are what I would look at outside of wide receiver at 32.
But one position that Baumgartner looked at, safety.
Oh yeah, that's what I said. I think safety is a huge need, especially considering Tracy Walker could leave.
He actually has taken the safety also out of Penn State, Jaquan Brisker.
Okay, all right.
But no, I 100% agree. Like you said, I wouldn't draft a quarterback.
Only reason I would is because if the right guy's available, then sure, take a shot. But you have to. But by drafting a quarterback in this draft, you also have to promise me we're taking one next year. Because this ain't the draft to put all your eggs in one basket on a quarterback here.
And then if you drafted the quarterback in the first round this year and then drafting one again next year, would you say you wasted a first round pick?
No, I don't think you're ever really wasting a first round pick by taking a quarterback. If you take a quarterback and you're giving them a legit shot to actually succeed, no, I don't think you're wasting it. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. I personally think that taking.
So you're saying you would, if you're drafting the quarterback, it'd be with the hopes that you're not drafting a quarterback next year. Because if you're drafting the quarterback again next year, then you gave your quarterback his rookie
would have
season.
To come out and put up a Justin Herbert type season for me not to draft a quarterback the next.
That's what I'm saying. So it would almost feel like a wasted first round pick if you're drafting quarterback going to turn around and do it again.
I took a shot on what was there, and by that I mean it would have to be a guy that has mid first round grade that fell. I'm not going to reach and take a quarterback that's got a second round grade there. That's not like position of need. It's not a position of value for me in that spot unless the player there is a much higher grade than where we're getting them. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So no matter what, I'm at least taking a shot. But if that guy's not there, I'm not taking a quarterback. I'm going wide receiver, safety probably is my top 2. And beyond that, I'm looking corner or linebacker. My point is, this team's got a lot of holes to fill.
Yeah.
And this goes back to the trading number 2 pick to gain more draft assets because we have so many holes to fill. It'd be nice to kind of get a jump on that.
That's why the closer we get to drafted, the more and more I feel like as as we see no one really getting separation at the top of this draft class, the more and more I feel like, we might actually trade down and try to just.
But with that
picks.
also being said, especially when it comes to the fact that there's no quarterbacks really worth a top 5 grade, it does devalue your pick a little bit or a lot because there's not that guy to go and get. You know what I mean?
That's true also. That's a good point.
Like in most years, that number 2 pick with multiple quarterbacks available is probably worth 2 first-round picks. I mean, what did the Bears give up to grab Mitch Trubisky at number 3 overall? You ain't getting that this year for your pick at number 2. I promise you that.
They could have stayed and gotten Deshaun Watson. It would have been serviceable for at least a few years.
Yeah, about that. Does he play football again? Do we see Deshaun Watson in uniform next year?
See, every part of me says no, but I'm very confused why there's a trade market for him. Because from the way it looks, no, he's not playing football again. But there's a pretty massive trade market for him, so I'm very confused.
I'm in the belief that I think we might. And the reason I say that is because I'm going to call back to something else the NFL did in the past, in a not similar situation, but an awful situation along with it, was look at AP's year where he was put on the commissioner's exemption list. He was gone for a whole year, and then he came back the very next year and played. That was an ipso facto suspension. I think this year with Deshaun Watson's going to kind of take that place. It was a de facto suspension. And now that he's been gone for a year, all right, we'll let him back into football. Now, that is
I do feel like
still pending criminal investigations. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, because I still feel like what he did might be a little bit more severe than what AP did. At least in my view.
It depends on who you ask. But I'm not going to compare child abuse to sexual assault. I'm not going to compare those two. That's not what I do. That's not my decision to make either. But regardless, it was he was been out of football for a year. So we'll see what the NFL decides to do, what he decides to do, what the teams decide to do, because I really have no idea. And the less we hear about it, the more I get curious. That's all. Because I'll be straight with you, I haven't heard a damn thing about his case or about any of this, about him coming back to football outside of potential trade conversations in months.
Meanwhile, the Texans GM thinks they can net multiple first-round picks.
If they're going to grab multiple first-round picks for Deshaun Watson, he's playing football this year.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I promise you that.
If that price is to be believed, he's playing football. But if you look at the case, it doesn't sound like he's playing football. So it's really confusing to me.
Yeah, no clue. No clue. So.
But, yeah, so that just want to throw out those.
I kind of like mock drafts like that because I like getting a couple different looks at what could be there. I like that because it gives you a chance that, okay, all right, he might fit. Oh, I kind of like that option too, as opposed to just saying, nope, it's this guy. So I kind of like getting a couple different options, see what it looks like. And the further away you are from the drafts, we're still a long ways from the draft, it makes sense to do it that way because we haven't had the combine yet. Have they had the Senior Bowl yet?
I think so. I think they did.
Okay. Well, regardless, we haven't had the combine yet, so
it was earlier this month.
Okay. We haven't gotten to take a great look at some of these players.
Did Dan Campbell coach it?
No, it was the Lions assistants that coached it.
Oh, okay.
So it was, I want to say, Ben Johnson, the Lions tight end coach, who's now their offensive coordinator. He was the head coach for one team, and I think it was the Lions and Jaguars coaches that got it. So it was Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn, but not the head coaches, the coordinators that did it or something. If I remember right, that's how it was.
You know what I just saw? The Lions have coached 10 Senior Bowls.
Yeah, because they don't have success. They usually give it to the two worst teams because they're the ones taking the closest look at the top of the board.
There are two teams that have coached more bowls, more games than the Lions. No.
Really? Cincinnati?
No.
Cleveland?
Cleveland's one of them, but they're not the most.
Really?
One team has more.
Houston?
No. I will throw a hint. They do have the most games coached, but their most recent one was 1995.
Oh, jeez. All right. The Chargers? I don't know.
The Giants.
Okay. Really? That's kind of weird.
Right?
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, the Jaguars only so like Lions.
Well, the Jaguars are still a fairly new organization too.
Yeah, but they haven't coached one since 2016.
Wasn't that the year they were really good too?
It sounds like it was.
I thought that was like the Jalen Ramsey, Blake Bortles year where they went to the AFC Championship. Yeah,
2016, so we're on there.
That's where that team just kind of came out of nowhere, and Blake Bortles decided to have his only good year ever.
Makes zero sense to me.
That dude literally just had a meteoric rise and then fell off a cliff. Like his shining moment was shorter than any other quarterback I think I've ever seen in this league, outside of maybe Matt Flynn.
It was 2017. There, that's what it was. Sandwiched by 3-13 and 5-11 seasons.
That team made no sense. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, I get they had a lot of good players in that team. With like, wasn't that Yannick Ngakoue's really good year too? And then they had Jalen Ramsey playing well. They had who was his counterpart DB that was a huge douche when he left? Oh my god, I can't believe this guy's name is drawing a blank. Anyways, it doesn't really even matter. But like that team. Oh, Allen Robinson was still on that team.
Yep.
Oh, he only played one game though.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think that was the year he broke his collarbone, wasn't it?
Might have been.
So maybe it was okay. It was AJ Bouye who was opposite of him. Maybe that's not who I'm thinking of. I don't know. Oh, maybe I'm thinking of the Legion of Boom guy. That when he, I might be thinking of the Seahawks Legion of Boom, the corner that was opposite of Richard Sherman. That's probably what I'm thinking of. Anyways, but I don't even know what we were talking about anymore.
We have gone into the rambling phase of the show.
We have talked Jaguars football.
All right, last question for you.
Yeah.
Do you feel like Ben Wallace should have been on that NBA 75 group?
I think it is disrespectful to the defensive aspects of the game not to include him. You included Dame Lillard in that, who has done absolutely zero in this league. Guy's never made an NBA Finals. I think he's made, one or two Western Conference Finals, and never won a scoring title, never won an MVP, never won DPOY, never won shit. And he's in the NBA top 75. And you don't have arguably the greatest defensive player in the game not there. That's disrespectful in my mind.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I really thought that Ben Wallace should have been there.
At least in like the...
There was not much Pistons representation at all. We had Isaiah.
They had to have had Isaiah.
Yeah, we had Isaiah, Dennis Rodman.
Yeah. Did they have Joe D?
No.
That's disrespectful. Holy shit.
I'm trying to think if they have Bob Lanier or not.
How are you going to put Dame Lillard but not Joe D?
I don't know if they had Bob Lanier.
Like, let me ask you this. Is Damian Lillard a Hall of Famer? Because I don't think he is. He's never won
Stat-wise, yes, but he's not won anything.
He's never won anything. He's just made All-Star games, which are half a popularity contest. He's never won anything. Like, that's the Stafford argument.
Yeah.
Before this year, was he a Hall of Famer before this season? The answer is no. Or was no. Now it's a little bit of a conversation. So, like, in Dame's case, I don't know, man. I would put Joe D over Dame Lillard in my mind.
Yeah. Yeah, it was just... Dave Bing was on it, though. So it was Dave Bing, Isaiah Thomas, and Dennis Rodman. Those are the only three from the Pistons.
I'd have put Joe D in there at least. Joe D and Ben Wallace should be there.
I 100% think Ben Wallace should have been there. But...
Whatever.
Yeah.
I'm a homer. Call it what you want. Anyways. Oh, man, that Jaguars team had Calais Campbell, too. Sorry. I saw the roster pulled up.
Making that argument for Dame Lillard, could you make that same argument for, like, James Harden, for example? I mean,
yeah. Well, okay, the difference with James Harden is I'm pretty sure he's at least got MVPs. I'm pretty sure he's a 2-time MVP. There's your difference. Dame's never won shit. And James Harden also has scoring titles, if I remember right.
James Harden is 1-time MVP. He was the assist leader in 2017 and 3-time scoring champion.
Yeah, that Dame doesn't have any of that. None of it.
I'm not trying to defend Dame. I'm just seeing how many more people we can tear down before we're done.
No, James Harden, I don't have a problem with. I don't think you can play. I don't think he plays winning basketball. But at least
they won the citizenship award.
Cool. He doesn't play winning basketball, but he doesn't have he has at least the accolades there. Dame doesn't have anything.
Mm-hmm.
Dude hasn't won nothing.
Yeah.
And frankly, I don't think he ever will. He's past his MVP years in my mind. Mm-hmm. He's never going to win a damn thing with Portland. Let's be real.
He's going to need to join a team.
Yeah, he's going to have to pull a Charles Barkley, desperate to join a championship ball club at the end of his career. And how'd that work out for Chuck?
Not well.
He's in the Hall without a title, though. But
he's in the Hall. He's just that damn good.
He's arguably the greatest power forward in the history of the game, though. Like, put some respect on that man's name.
Now,
he also has an MVP. There you go.
One other question or guy that I want to bring up, I guess, is Anthony Davis. He doesn't have any MVPs. He has not.
Did they really put him in the top 75?
Yeah, he's not won anything.
I'm sorry, that's a joke. That's a joke. The dude's missed half of his career, for God's sakes.
Like when he's on the court, he's fantastic.
At this point, put Brandon Roy in the top 75. If you're putting AD in there, Brandon Roy should be in there because the dude was a monster when he played, which was almost never just like AD. When has AD played over 80 games in a season? Never. When has he played over 75? Once?
I could probably tell you.
Please do, because I'm honestly curious, because I feel like the dude has missed half of his career.
He has played 75, actually twice, back-to-back years. 2016, 17, 17, 18, he played 75 games.
Hasn't done it in 4 freaking years.
That's the most he's played, though. That's the only time he even broke 70, actually, is those 2 years. He hasn't even broke 70
Dude's missed damn near a third of his career, and you're going to put him in the top 75? I'm sorry, that's a damn travesty. Like, I think AD is an amazing player. I would love for him to be healthy on my team. Keyword healthy. Like, that dude can win. AD does have a title, though. He's got the Mickey Mouse ring.
Yep.
But, dude, I'm sorry. AD does not belong in the top 75 in my mind. He doesn't.
I do have the most degrees for you, and I do think we brought this up when it was announced a few months ago when they announced the top 75. Carmelo Anthony.
At least the dude stayed healthy. That dude won he's got one scoring title.
Yeah, that's the most you can say about him.
He's got more than Dame Lillard. I'm not gonna lie to you. No, I'm gonna agree with you. I don't think Melo deserves to be in top 75 either. Like,
are we gonna really consider Melo over Ben? Like,
who won how many Defensive Player of the Year awards? 3,
4, I think. Right?
4. I mean, you want to make the argument of Melo over JD, fine, or Joe Dumars, like, fine. I get that. But Dumars at least was a 2-time NBA champ, 5-time All-Defensive Player of the Year. Like,
yeah.
Man.
And with Big Ben, you're talking about NBA champion, 4-time Defensive Player of the Year, 2-time rebounding leader, 1-time block leader. Like, I mean,
that's just way too much of recency bias in my mind. That's the recency bias just took over in this.
Yeah.
In the case of Anthony Davis, I think honestly of the names we've mentioned on that list that we don't think should be there, he's the most deserving. He's got 4-time All-NBA, 4-time All-Defensive Player, and a 3-time block champ.
He's also the only NBA champion of the ones you mentioned.
Yes, exactly. Like, he's got, you want to keep him on there, fine. Even though he's missed damn near a third of his career, fine, leave him on. Other two, I don't think so. That's recency bias taking over right there.
Yeah.
Like, I'll be straight with you. I'd put Klay Thompson over Dame Lillard.
One guy. So I was watching the game with our buddy Alex, and Alex, there were 2 that he was upset about outside of Ben Wallace. They thought should be in. He was saying T-Mac and Dwight Howard should be in.
Dwight Howard should be in over Dame. T-Mac, I'm going to disagree with. Dude never won a damn thing either.
Did Dwight Howard ever win a championship? I don't think he did.
I thought he won one with the Lakers.
Oh yeah, with the Lakers. I forgot the years with the Lakers. So yeah, he won with the Lakers.
He never won. No, he did not. He never won.
Oh yeah, he won in 2020 with the Lakers.
No, he was not on the team. He does not have. No, he does not have an NBA title.
Yes, he does. Where's Wikipedia? It's right there.
Oh, I see it. Sorry, I'm staring right at it. And I'm not. No. You also
he was on the team.
Dwight was also a 3-time DPOY.
Yeah, I know. That's what the next thing I was about to bring up. Like, he's got about as good of a case as Ben Wallace does.
Yes, absolutely.
Almost as good of a case as Ben Wallace does.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ben Wallace has won more Defensive Player of the Year over him.
So, yeah, I'd have Dwight Howard in there well over Damian Lillard. Like, my God. Like I said, I'd put Clay over Dame Lillard.
And how many scoring titles does McGrady have? He's got to have at least one, right?
Twice. He won twice. He won 2 scoring titles and one MIP in 2000-2001.
Yeah, he's got more of a case than Carmelo Anthony.
I ain't gonna disagree with you there. I don't think Melo belongs in it. I don't think Dame or Melo should be there.
Yeah. Speaking of Melo, last thing I'm going to talk about, because it's a little bit Pistons relevant, because it is talking about a potential Pistons prospect in Paolo Banchero. I recently saw a comp for Paolo Banchero that was Melo. I find it interesting. I don't see him.
Paolo Banchero like 12 feet tall?
No, he's like 6'10". He's like a little bit taller.
Chet Holmgren.
Yeah. I don't think he's quite as fluid.
No, I don't think he's as fluid.
Not that Melo was super
like offensively,
fluid,
I think Melo is more gifted than Paolo Banchero.
Yeah. And Paolo Banchero is quite gifted offensively.
Yes, but Melo was like a special offensive player. Like
I would compare him to later stage Melo.
Fair. I mean, I won't disrespect him that
Look up
bad.
me to Paolo Banchero.
Like you're talking Knicks Melo, not Nuggets Melo.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not Nuggets.
All right.
Yeah.
That's fair. I don't know. I like Paolo Banchero, but of the top 4 prospects, he is probably my least favorite one. If we ended up with him, I'm not disappointed. Like if we're picking 4 and the other 3 go ahead of him, and we end up with him, I'm not going to be mad.
He is 4 on my board
same
of the top 4. And Jaden Ivey has the potential to keep creeping up. I just need to see him play a little more off ball. I need to know that he can play off ball and doesn't need to be ball dominant in order to be effective.
100% agree.
That's
like Jaden Ivey
for
for me, Jaden Ivey probably would be my number 1 if he can show that he's an effective off the ball player. Like just because of what the need is on that team, they need a guy like that. Yeah. So if he can show that to me, he's the guy. So, but anyways, anything else to add?
No, I think we've rambled on enough.
Yeah, we did. All right, guys. Thank you for listening. We will catch you guys next week. Follow us on Twitter at Real Fan Report. Thank you to Detroit Sports Podcast as always. And Andrew, thank you for joining me. This has been the Fan Reporters by fans.
For fans.
Have a good one, guys. Enjoy your week as we kick back into some Detroit sports action. Thank God. I've been starving without it. We'll catch you guys
Got some
later.
movies in, though.
Yeah. True. Have a good one, guys. Peace out.
Peace.